Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Sincere from the Standard 81 podcast, and I just want to check my audio real quick. Perfect, we got it going. And I am back. I know that I haven't done a live stream in about a week now, maybe two. But a lot has been going on, so I haven't had a chance. And plus, I've been trying to develop some of my other social media. So let me give you a quick run on that. I am now on TikTok at the Standard 81 podcast, so you can go and check those out. Those are short, little brief nuggets, similar to what you're getting on Instagram. And I promise you, Instagram, I will come back to you guys and start posting and making more content there. But for right now, I am investing a little more time into getting TikTok going, especially since I am new on the platform. Uh, However, I do want to go back to YouTube, which is where I am tonight, and eventually I want to get on Facebook as well. But that will come in time. Anyways, what are we going to discuss tonight? Uh, we are going to discuss presentation. The title of this particular monologue or episode is it's about presentation. And before I get into it, let me say this. Please like, share, and subscribe. And for those of you that are watching afterwards, put second watch down in the comments. And let me know how y'all are enjoying this because I am definitely trying to grow this channel. I know it is small right now, but I'm hoping that the things that I'm talking about are relevant to all you guys. And as you begin to rewatch the content, uh, you will see that it's more than just some guy sitting here chatting, giving his another guy sitting here chatting, giving his opinion. But anyways, let's get into this. It's about presentation. All right, it's about presentation, and let me go ahead and split my screen here and pull up. Uh, Hold on a second, guys. Hold on a second, guys. I got the wrong one here. So let me try this one more time. Let me do split view. Let me pull up my PowerPoints here. It's about presentation. Okay, so cool. Let's look at this thing here. And I am going to pull this up on the television screen, which is something I haven't done in a while, just because I hadn't been on for a little bit. So but the television screen definitely helps me to see it a lot clearer so I can read it for you guys. All right, so here's what we got. The word presentation means to the word presentation is a uh, pertaining to a show. There are a few words that demonstrate this particular thing. Synonyms for it, should you say. It is a representation, demonstration, appearance, show, a display, or some kind of showcase, and particularly focus on what it is you are or the thing that you are presenting. That is what we are talking about today. But the word I want to focus on tonight is image. Image is so important. And here's why I say that. If you depending on what image you put out there, it's what you're going to be known as. Because see, your image to a certain degree portrays what your character is. Now, nobody can know your character for certain because your character is what's developed on the inside, and then what is developed on the inside is exuded out. But your image can sometimes say a lot about what your character is, and especially in my community, the Black community. And I'm going to pinpoint us a lot tonight because our image is something that we definitely need to work on. But before I go any farther into any of those points, let's talk about what image is. All right, so let's go up to the next point. And I was very surprised by how long this definition actually was, and how much insight I got from this particular definition. It is, and it says this: it is a visual representation of something, likeness in an object or in a photograph or produced material or some kind of electronic device such as a television screen or a computer screen. The optional counter or the optional counterpart or a mirror of something. Something depicting or symbolizing an orientation or attitude, a concept or an idea, a popular conception which is distributed to a nation and projected to mass media in a tangible representation or vivid visual or graphic description of something that is supposed to be imitated, or a representation of a solid form and that of a statue. Now, I want to break that whole definition down, and I'm not going to go through that twice because it is a very long definition. But I'm going to break that down into different pieces here. All right, so it says a visual representation. Now, let me ask you this: is what you're seeing visually, is what you put out there visually, saying that you're the best choice, you're the best selection, you're the best thing going? Or is it saying that you're beneath, or you're not well equipped to do what it is that you should be doing? What is your image saying about you? Because the visual representation in our community in particular seems to be poor. I said this in an episode once before, but I believe we need to work on what we put out there, because right now our representation is pathetic. We 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 glorify gangsters and thugs, and then as far as the ladies go, we are glorifying culture, a less than feminine culture. And I'm not talking about the things that they talk about in red pill topics, but man, my goodness, the stuff that I'm seeing, wow, it's disgraceful. We are literally promoting the worst of us and not the best of us, right? The it also in that particular definition it says mediums, mass media. On social media, what are you putting out versus what you want people to judge you by? Now I hear this all the time: you can't judge a person by the content of their skin, but you got to judge them by their character. Well, let me tell you this: if you're putting an image out there that you are not well put together, or you're less than desirable, or your image that you're putting out there is portraying you one way, and you want to be looked at another, then you probably need to start thinking about that. You can't go out there looking loose and expect men not to treat you that way. You cannot go out into the world looking like a thug and expect people not to treat you that way. You can't go out there just bummy and casual all the time and expect people not to treat you as a bum and somebody who is mad casual. It just don't work. What we have to do is know the proper place and the proper time for everything. And I was going to dress up in a nice suit and everything, but I'm gonna tell you the truth. I am a casual guy. I am, for the most part, my day to day is very casual. I tend to wear a lot of casual clothing, but in the scriptures it says, "Is a time and a place for everything," and I believe that 100%. And when you're trying to portray yourself in a certain light to demonstrate what your character is, this is when you need to know the time and the place. The problem is often we want people to look past what we are presenting them and say, oh, this is not what I really represent, when the image right in front of them is saying something completely different. Here's the old saying: you never, 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 never get a second chance to make a first impression. Let me say that one more time. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. And if what you're putting out into the world, if what you're putting out into into mass media, into social media, and on the internet, these things live forever. And unfortunately, even if your character does change, that image is hard to erase. It's hard to overcome. And you're starting to see it with young men. You're definitely starting to see it with the women. And they're going back and regretting the choices in which they choose to portray themselves, because now their image has been tainted, right? An imitation, and this is the last piece I'm gonna break down. An imitation or a statue or a form. Now, I will say this: the media doesn't, social media and the media doesn't do a great job in representing us. But for a lot of us, we tend to grab a hold of that particular image, and we allow ourselves to be entertained by it. And I'm not going to sit there and say that I'm not guilty of watching some of it and indulging in some of that. I am. But I'm starting to figure out, the more and more we engage with these things that put us in a negative light, the more and more we allow the media to dilute and mangle our image, the less we're going to be respected, the less we're going to be looked at as a person of character, the less we're going to be seen as a person who is intentional, is intense, somebody that is moving forward. We're always going to be seen as somebody that needs a handout and is moving backwards. This is why image is important. Now, let me say that, let me say this, getting on to the next point, right? There are a couple of ways, there are a couple of things that you can do to change your image. And number one is dress. All right. Number one is dress. All right. Now, once again, I'm going to bring this back 100. I'm going to bring this into full circle. But I think the first one and the easiest one is how you dress. Now, I said there's a time and a place for everything. And I am a casual guy. Do not get it wrong. I love t-shirts. I love hoodies. I love shorts. I live in Florida. I mean, most of what we wear here in Florida is casual. Right now, we're getting some cool breezes in the morning, so and during the evening. So we do tend to wear hoodies a lot in the house. In the house that I'm in, I keep it very cold, so I tend to wear my hoodies a lot just because they're comfortable. But nonetheless, I know if I was to go to an interview and I want to look like I'm there to represent properly, and I want that company to know that uh, I'm here to not only represent myself well, but I want to represent them as well. I'm going to wear something that indicates just that. Think about this. If you were going to meet somebody that was incredibly important to you, and that you regard it high and you highly respect it, think about what you would wear. Would you just put on any old thing? Or would you go out your way to make sure that what you wore showcased who you are to a certain extent? I believe it's the latter. I believe that all of us would go out of our way to make sure that what we wore in some degree would reflect what it is we think. And I'm gonna say this. We see it a lot more in the women because they do a lot more when it comes to dressing, putting on makeup and all this other stuff. So they equate the fact that they dress the way they dress to that value. And that's a great way of looking at it. But that's not the only thing. But I'm saying that is one step in making people see you as more valuable, in making people see you in a different light, and making people address you differently. How you dress, how you come out the house. I do not mind casual, but my God, I see everybody nowadays, especially the younger people, looking like they just rolled out of bed. Pajama bottoms, Crocs, sandals, uh, t-shirts. I'm like, what is this? And they do it everywhere. Everywhere. They do it. They do it to stores. They do it to the airport. They do it to the gym. They do it to restaurants. They do it all over the place. And I'm like, oh my God, where's the decorum? Where's the thought? Uh, uh, hey, I want to represent well. Hey, where's the thought? I don't want to be looked at as trash. But oftentimes, this is what's celebrated and glorified in media, right? And then we talk about these big dreams of wanting to be rich and successful, and we want to buy all this stuff to make us look a certain way. When this is going to transition into the second point, when that's not really our reality. So my second point is this: let's begin to think about our image. And here's what I mean. When I say think about our image, I'm talking about let's not think of ourselves above where we are, but let's not think of ourselves below where we are. Let's make the image of ourselves match where we at and begin to transition into where we want to be. Because see, here's the thing. A lot of people want to dress as though they're successful. And then when it's time to prove that you are that person, you are this, you are that, you have that, you come up lacking. Or they dress so shabby that when it's time to be seen as valuable, they're looked at as less than. And neither one is good. Let's be where we're at first. Let's establish ourselves where we're at first. And this is in a sense of age. I made a TikTok that said, let's stop doing forever young. Let's start dressing as though we are the age we are. And this doesn't mean for the guys, this doesn't mean you have to dress up in a suit every day, but keep your appearance in check. Make sure you keep a decent haircut. If you have facial hair, make sure you keep it trimmed, groomed. Uh, Shower. For the ladies, make sure your hygiene is on point. Make sure you brush your teeth, wash your hair. I don't know, all the quintessential stuff that you should have grown up knowing is the things that affect your image in people's eyes. And as you can see, guys, I'm tatted. I have a lot of different tats. But you, you got to start, let's even go into that vein, right? If you want to be respected in a certain arena, maybe there's certain things that you shouldn't do. Maybe you shouldn't get tattoos on your neck or your hands or on your face. We need to stop saying everything is against us and everybody's trying to judge us when really there's a standard to what people expect and you just don't meet it because your image is poor. Could that be it? Because here it is. Nobody is entitled to understanding. We want people to empathize with us. And why I think it's a good thing people empathize with each other because everybody has their problems and everybody has their issues. That's not a requirement. Nobody is going to force anybody to do anything. Plain and simple. The only thing that's ever been required of us is to be who we are and then die. I'm going to say that again. The only thing that is required of us is to be who we are and then die. So ultimately, our lives are what we make it. And I know that sounds contradictory to the Christian to Christian things, but let me say this. God himself will not force his lifestyle upon us. He's a gentleman. He will come and present the truth to us and say, hey, if you live according to the way I want you to live, I can improve your overall lifestyle. I can improve your overall life, but this is the requirement. So even the God Almighty that made the universe says you can do with your life and your image what you want, but you have to be willing to pay the consequences for that. And I believe a lot of us don't want to pay those consequences in the end. We got to start thinking about we're what it is we're doing and how we are doing it in a way that we are putting it out there for people because all those things fall in alignment. And here's the third point. Here's the third point right here. We need to begin to shift our mind to the way we want our image to look. I'm going to say that one more time. We need to begin to shift our mind to the way we want ourselves to look. Because for a lot of us, we say we want to be viewed as one thing. We say that we want to be perceived as one way. We say we want this, we want that, we want these things. We want people to somehow celebrate us in a certain way. But the reality of it is when people see us, it's not what they see. And it's because our mind is not thinking like that. Our mind is still thinking at a lower level. And we think somehow by doing things in one way, like I said before, somebody will empathize with us enough or sympathize with us enough to see us the way we always seen ourselves, when that's untrue. We have to come to grips with the reality that our image is a part of what makes us us. I'm going to say it one more time. Our image is a part of what makes us us, especially in a black community. If we want to be taken more seriously, if we want to be looked at as people who have a higher standard and not just high education and looking to be rich and or freeloaders or whatever the case may be, we need to start thinking that way, dressing that way, and making ourselves follow within those particular patterns. There's an easy way to do it, honestly. And I'm going to tell you that here in a second, because that's going to be my ending point. But I'm going to tell you that here in a second. The biggest problem we have is that oftentimes when we see something positive, we always want to look for the negative spots in something. We always want to take what's positive and bring it low, because maybe we haven't reached that place yet. Maybe we haven't gotten to that thought process yet. Maybe what we have done thus far is not in the vein of where they're at, and so we're like, that can't be. But in reality, we need to start celebrating it more, and if we celebrate it more, we can raise the standard of what living is. We can raise the standard of how people see us. We can stop accepting the things that the media and the people put out there and say about us, because some of the media is correct, because that's what we're putting out there. Some of it they're putting out there and hoping that we grab onto it, but a lot of it is what they're seeing. So it goes both ways. There's a two-way street here. But I'm gonna get to my last point, because I don't want to belabor these things too long. I'm gonna say this, and here's the last point. The solution is very simple, and it's found in Genesis. We were created, men and women, in God's image. If we get back to knowing God, if we get back to faith, if we get back to the virtues and the lessons and the things that we know inside of us, we can become what it is we've always looked for, because that's what God has implanted inside of us. And I'm not trying to give y'all a whole bunch of religious rigmarole, but let's look at what's happening today. We are doing all these different things and none of them's working. And we keep on crying about, I wish things were the way they were before. Well, here's the note. When they were the way they were before, we had more faith. We had more foundations. We had more functioning. We were more in touch with the Godhead, even though some of us weren't saved, right? We at least had some sort of foundation. So if you want to find your proper image, if you want to find out who you really are, you need to get in touch with the one that made you. Because only he can take the negative image that you have made for yourself and put it into place where it should be. We've tried. We're failing every day. We see it all the time. And the problem is, we, instead of letting go of our own ideas, instead of coming back to what really works, we keep on trying to reinvent and readjust and trying to do different, something that is not working at all. We just say we need to touch up this, or we need to remove that, or we need to do things this way. And all we keep on causing for ourselves is a bunch of chaos and confusion. I'm here to tell you this: your image is important. It's the way you think, it's the way you move, it's the way you dress. If you don't have those things in alignment to the way you want people to perceive you, and the way you want society to perceive you, and the way you want your peers to see you, you will not succeed. Plain and simple. Nobody cares about the character you have if they see the image in front of them poorly. Point blank, period. If they see the image in front of them being something of worth and of value, they're willing to take the time to see if the image that's in front of them is really there, if the character matches the image. Then from there, you just defeat yourself if the character doesn't match the image. But if you put those three things, the way you think, the way you move, and I'm talking about walking, talking, standing, posturing, and the way you dress, you put all three of those in alignment. Now you have something that you can use to show your character. And ultimately, it affects your character. Because you can't get those three in alignment without first developing character and without first knowing who you are. So I'm going to say this in conclusion to my community: please, let's wake up. Let's wake up. Let's stop doing what we've been doing. Let's stop celebrating the the negative of us, the the least of us, just because. And I'm talking about, just because they got money and they're celebrities, doesn't mean that it's the right thing we should be celebrating. Money don't change nothing. Money don't fix nothing. The only thing that money fixes and changes is money things. If you're a poor character and poor image, the money you have is not going to fix that. It's just going to increase it and make it worse. And to the rest of you guys out there, outside of the community of black folks, think about what you're portraying to the world. Think of what people are saying. Think of how people see you on a day-to-day basis, and ask yourself, do I like what it is that I am putting out there? And if the answer is no, you need to stop and make adjustments, because it's about presentation. It's about what you put out there. It's about your image. The late great Kevin Samuels made a whole doggone monologue and a whole doggone show talking about image. I would suggest you go watch it. Shout out to KS. Uh, but what he said was on point. A lot of us don't even respect ourselves. So how can we respect our image? Let's make things that really matter matter. And that's how we'll make America great again. That's how we'll make families great again. That's how we'll get back to the things that we used to know. This is how everything changes. So, that is it for me. I don't have anything more to say. Once again, let me apologize for not uploading in a little while. I am definitely going to try to get back to being more consistent about this. And while I'm trying to figure out a proper time outside of 11 o'clock to start broadcasting, uh, work with me. Check out all the other platforms. Check me out on TikTok at the Standard 81 Podcast. Uh, over there on Instagram at Sincere the Artist, and of course here on YouTube at the Standard 81 Podcast. I'm definitely trying to work on getting everything lined up the same. And until next time, remember, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.